Looks like there's more Oppo research out in regard to Madison Cawthorn. Midas Touch has just put out a series of tweets showing that there's some more incriminating information out there about Representative Madison Cawthorn, a Republican lawmaker, a freshman lawmaker who had recently accused members of his own party of inviting him to cocaine-fueled sex parties. Apparently, the Republican establishment did not take kindly to that, and we've been seeing a steady flow of terrible stories about him published in right-wing publications. And Midas Touch is now also sharing a video that they describe as new leaked video shows GOP Representative Madison Cawthorn caught with a male scheduler's hand on his crotch. So let's take a look at that video and then I'll fill in the blanks.
Be filled with passion and desire. Would like to see your naked body beneath my hands.
Me too. I'd like to do that as well. Yeah.
Look, I mean, I don't personally care about something like that, although it's a little awkward, especially if it's someone working for him. But this is something that might really turn off Republican voters within his district. I think that's probably the reason why this was leaked to the press. And remember, this is also in addition to other stories that have been leaked to the press. Just yesterday, we shared a story that was published in the Washington Examiner, essentially accusing Madison Cawthorn of trading on insider information, particularly manipulating the value of cryptocurrency. Washington Examiner is not a left-wing publication. It is very much a right-wing publication. And as David Dole mentioned on Twitter, the fact that the Republican establishment seems to be digging up dirt on Madison Cawthorn so aggressively really makes one start to believe that there are in fact sex parties that are full of cocaine and all sorts of other activity happening among the Republican members of Congress. I don't know for sure, but they really don't like him at this point.
Yeah, so guys, you have to understand who's doing this and why they're doing this, because almost everyone will give you the story without giving you the context. And this is perfect because we hate Madison Cawthorn, but nonetheless, we're gonna be fair to him because that's what you're supposed to do in news. You're supposed to give the full news, whether you like the person or you don't. This is definitely Oppo research. And journalists will take opposition research from political opponents and never tell you, hey, this got planted by people who don't like him. That is important context for you to know, because apparently they had this tape all along, but they never shared it with you. They're sharing it with you now because they want to end his political career. Now you might look at that and go, okay, that's fine, I don't care, I still don't like it, and I'm gonna vote against him, etc. But the context is clearly relevant. Now, is it Democrats or is it Republicans? It seems to be, based on the context clues, obviously Republicans. Why? Well, he's been against the Democrats the whole time. He's one of the most vituperative people against the Democrats. He won his election against the Democrat, and they never ran any of these stories against him. Well, I mean, they're Democrats, they're losers. If they only use Oppo research against progressives. Oh my God, whenever a progressive's running, Nina Turner, Bernie Sanders, you name it, there's nothing but Oppo research. All of a sudden, Democratic leadership is lions. And they're like, oh, look at this, and they said this, and the guy sitting next to them said that back in 17 years ago. But against Republicans, the weakest people you'll ever see. Almost never is there any Oppo research, right? In this case, Cawthorn criticizes Republicans and says they go to orgies. All of a sudden, Oppo research shows up. Other than us, almost no one tells you that it's Oppo research and that it's Republicans trying to bury their own because he dared to criticize them. And maybe, and this part we don't know, we know that they're angry, they said it publicly, and that they were trying to get him, and this is them trying to get him. What we don't know is, are they angry just because he made up that story and it made him look bad, or are they angry because that story is true?
Yeah, that's the real question here. And who knows what's gonna come out next. But let me just buttress Cenk's point regarding Democrats and how this is not the party that's doing the opposition research. Apparently, it doesn't take much to do Oppo research on Madison Cawthorn because They also looked into Venmo transactions, which Cawthorn was stupid enough to make public. He didn't change the privacy settings to ensure that these exchanges were private. And so apparently the Venmo messages between Cawthorn and the scheduler, which were obtained by American Muckrakers PAC, show that one payment was made by Cawthorn to Smith, that's the scheduler, dated on June 17th of 2018, and it reads, "Getting naked for me in Sweden." Like, and look, I'm on Venmo, right? And people write joke like messages when they're exchanging money. It happens all the time. I don't think it necessarily means that they're getting naked with each other, but it doesn't matter. There are enough Republican voters who might not know that, and there are enough, bigoted right-wing voters who might be turned off by this latest leak. But it's definitely the right wing doing this. I have no doubt.
Yeah, and look, I used a strong word there about Madison Cawthorn, hate, and the reason for that is because he's constantly encouraging violence, talking about Second Amendment rights and grabbing your guns, and sometimes you have to do something if people disagree with you politically. Yes, let's note the irony of the Republican Party arguing for free speech and saying grab your guns if someone disagrees with you. So there's plenty of reasons to deeply dislike Madison Cawthorn, and that's my perspective. I do, okay? But I don't care at all if he's gay. I don't care 1%. Okay, so they're doing whatever they're doing, and they're the Venmo. I don't care. They're consenting adults. So the other day we showed a picture of him dressed up as a woman with other women. I don't know what he was doing with those women, and I don't care. I don't care why he was dressed up as a woman. I do care if he's hypocritical and attacks trans people when he's apparently cross-dressing. But all of this is an effort by other Republicans to bury him. So they're looking for, in Madison, normally what I call it is looking for needles in a haystack. And so with Bernie, they ran out of needles. The haystack of great things he had done was so great, and there was almost no needles. So they started making things up. He's Jewish, and they called him anti-Semitic. They were grasping in that analogy for straws. In Madison Cawthorn's case, it's a haystack of needles. So they're just reaching and going, this one, this one, this one, this one. But Republicans, why didn't you show us those tapes earlier? And media, why don't you ever note when someone is in the middle of getting their character assassinated?
And I want to just finally say that while we don't care what anyone's sexual orientation is, we wouldn't judge them based on that. I'm happy to see progressives responding to that video on Twitter by saying lovely things like, "Happy for you, Madison, love is love, do you boo?" And that's who we are, that's who progressives are. Love is love.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.